For our last video on factoring, we're going to look at what do we do with quadratics when the first term isn't a 1x squared, when we have a different number there. So there's a couple of different choices we have. One, the first thing we always want to do, is there anything that we can factor out? And in this case, we see we can factor a 6 out of all three of these terms. So then you have 6 times x squared, because 6 times x squared would get us back to that 6x squared, and 3x, because 6 times 3x is 18x, or 18x divided by 6 is 3x. You could look at it that way. And then negative 60 divided by 6 would be negative 10 that's left there. Now that's outside the parentheses, and then I have this part inside that I can do my diamond problem. 3, negative 10, and it would be positive 5, negative 2. So I have my 6, I have my negative 2, and I have my positive 5. This one is very similar, but this time, instead of the greatest common factor being a number, it's an x. All three of these have an x in them, so we can factor out 1x. So x cubed divided by x leaves x squared. 8x squared divided by x leaves 8x. And negative 20x divided by x leaves negative 20. And then again, I have a trinomial that I can factor. So let's do one more. Here, the greatest common factor of 2 and 10 and negative 28 is 2. So I can factor out a 2. And then I go through each of these terms. I am dividing out a 2. So then what's left? Well, 2x squared divided by 2 leaves x squared. And 10x divided by 2 leaves 5x. And negative 28 divided by 2 leaves negative 14. And now I have this trinomial here that I can factor. So I'm going to make my diamond problem. And I have 5 and negative 14. So this would be positive 7 and negative 2. 2 times x plus 7 and x minus 2. All right. But then what do we do if we can't factor it out, like this one? So I have 2x squared, I have 7x, I have 3. There's no common factor there that's easy to factor out. I mean, we could deal with fractions, but that's not really going to help us. So we're going to do what's called a combination of a diamond and a box. Or, well, I'm going to show you two different ways to do it. So the first way is the diamond and the box. So the diamond goes like this. We still put our 7 here, but now instead of just putting the 3 here, we're going to put 2 times 3. 2 times 3 equals 6. Okay, so the pattern for this, if I have ax squared plus bx plus c, then in our diamond, we're going to have b here, and we're going to have a times c as this one. Okay, now we're still going to find our factors, just like we did with a regular diamond. So two numbers that multiply to make 6 and add to make 7 would be 7 and 1. No, 6 and 1. I don't know what I'm thinking. Sorry. 6 and 1. Okay, so then from there, there's two different ways I can do this. I could do factoring by grouping, where I would write this the same, 2x squared, and then instead of writing 7x, I'm going to break the 7x into two pieces using this factor and this factor. Sorry, that's supposed to be an arrow. Okay, so 6x plus 1x plus 3. So again, my 6 and my 1 add up to make 7, so I can rewrite this 7x as a 6x and a 1x. Then what I'm going to do is split this whole problem. I need a different color. Let's do this. All right, I'm going to split the whole problem into two groups. So for this first group, I'm going to factor out my greatest common factor, which is 2x. 2x. So that leaves me x plus 3. And then for the second group, I'm going to factor out my greatest common factor, which is 1. And that leaves me x plus 3 also. So let's double check this. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 3 is 6x. 1 times x is 1x. 1 times 3 is 3. All right. Now my greatest common factor is x plus 3. So I'm going to factor that out of both of these pieces. So I get x plus 3 times 2x plus 1. So there is my factored version. Okay. Now, I personally feel like this is the more difficult method, so I'm going to show you another method. The other way we could do this, still starting with the diamond, exactly the same. So I'm just going to rewrite this over here. So we would do this step the same way. Then we're going to take this and make a box. So in my first box here, I have 2x squared. In my last box, I have 3. And then in the two diagonal boxes here, I'm going to have my 6x and my 1x. And it doesn't matter which one goes where. These two matter, these two don't. They're interchangeable. So now, zoom in a little better. Okay, so now I'm going to factor out the greatest common factor from each column and each row. So the greatest common factor here is 2x, and then I can say 2x times what equals 2x squared? Well, x. So 2x times x equals 2x squared. 2x times what equals 6x? 3. 2x times 3 equals 6x. And then here, this would be 1. 1 times x is x. 1 times 3 is 3. So now I can rewrite this 2x plus 1 times x plus 3. We get the same answer, just this one's much more spatial and visual. This one's a lot more algorithm based. Okay, let's try it again. And I am just going to do the diamond in the box this time because that tends to be easier for students. So I'm just going to focus on that method. So I'm going to do this one right here. So again, we're going to start. Our middle term goes to the left. We multiply the two end terms to get this. So this is 5. So two numbers that multiply to make 5 and add to make 6. Well, this is going to be 5 and 1. Okay. So then in my box, I have my original 5x squared, and I have my original 1, and then I'm going to pull over, instead of 6x, I'm breaking this into two pieces. I have 5x and I have 1x. pulling from the diamond problem. And now my greatest common factor for the top row is 5x. 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times 1 is 5x. And then down here, this is 1. 1 times x is 1x. 1 times 1 is 1. So my factored form of this would be 5x plus 1 and x plus 1. All right, let's do another one. Let's do this one right here. Let's get some negatives in there. Okay. So here, same process. We've got -1, right? There's an invisible 1 there. So -1, and this would be -3 times 2 equals -6. So I need two numbers that multiply to make -6 and add to make -1, and this is going to be coincidentally -3 and 2. Keep picking ones that have this relationship. They don't always have that relationship. Okay. Oh, I forgot to color code this. -3 and 2. So then we go to our box. So in our box, we have 2x squared, and we have -3, and then I have -3 and +2. So my greatest common factor of this line, oh, I forgot my x's. All right, my greatest common factor here is just x, and here it's 2x. X times 2x is 2x squared. Here it's going to be -3. X times -3 is -3x. Here it's going to be 1. 1 times 2x is 2x. 1 times -3 is -3. So then my factored form is 2x minus 3 times x plus 1.